Thank you for listening to Buffalo What's Next on WBFO. Buffalo What's Next will be taking a short break and will return with new content shortly. Here are two highlight segments from our show that aired on January 12th and 26th of this year.
After May 14th, how can we afford not to talk about race?
About education, about segregation, about humanity.
Since the dawn of this nation, racial violence has existed.
The way we have designed our society has a big hand in what occurred in that Tops Market.
The suburban area, everywhere, we must work and teach our children.
We need to make sure that we put more funding in our programs that help prevent gun violence and more money into art.
If we're going to have some real healing, we've got to have space to tell some uncomfortable truth.
This is Buffalo What's Next. I'm host Thomas O'Neill White, and with me today to talk about the city of Buffalo's blizzard response and her involvement in helping residents is retired Buffalo police officer Cariol Horne. Cariol, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Was this holiday blizzard a Hurricane Katrina moment for the city? Why or why not?
It certainly was. Just like someone said, it was a snurricane.
A snurricane, yes. 35 deaths in the city of Buffalo, over 46 in Erie County. And Cariol, you were arrested during rescue efforts. Can you tell us what happened?
I actually was out during the this is after the blizzard. The first day that the blizzard stopped, my 97-year-old father was without heat and electricity, and I was not able to get to him until Christmas Day, when the blowing snow and everything stopped. So that morning, I wound up getting over to him with the help of Miles Carter and David Lewis, and of course, the effort with neighbors, helping or whatever. But
right.
Either way it goes, I was out all day helping people, giving rides, shoveling, snow blowing, and that night I was actually on my way to my son's house to get a plate to eat, and I was going in the house for a few hours, and then coming back out to see if anybody was out that needed help or whatever. Either way it goes, I was riding down Bailey Street, and I noticed that the police had a car pulled over. It had a trunk full of stuff, so my assumption was that the person was out looting.
Right.
So I saw the people on the ground, and I guess I was triggered because, a body had been in the snow and ice for 2 days, and the police did not respond. Mm-hmm. So I actually was going to just get out and record, and basically being an advocate and activist, I was basically going to speak on it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find my phone. So at that time, I didn't know that the person I had just dropped off had stole my phone. But I couldn't find the phone, and I just decided I would get out and just observe. Mm-hmm. And the cop, he came and asked, can he help me? And I said, yeah, I understand that these people were probably stealing, but you need to get them off the ground. And he just pointed in my face and said, you're going to be on the ground if you don't stop impeding my investigation. I basically said, I didn't impede his investigation, and that, he needed to get the people off the ground. And then he pushed me, and then I pushed him back, and then he body slammed me and told me I was under arrest for putting my hands on him. And I said, I did, but after you put your hands on me.
Do you think the officer recognized you and that maybe flipped the switch in the officer? Because, let's be real. You're probably persona non grata within the Buffalo Police Department.
Well, he was nice at first, and he quickly turned cold, just like that ice and snow. He was just that cold. So I'm not sure if he did, but in the arrest paperwork, I didn't give him my ID, mm-hmm. and so they put my name wrong as Carol instead of Cariol, but at the same time, they still gave me an appearance ticket without ID.
And what were you charged with?
Obstruction, disorderly, and harassment. The same things he should be charged with. If I should be charged with it, he should be charged with it, as well as Cariol's law should be charged.
Exactly, and that's what you are known for, and you're known for saving the life of Neil Mack Jr. And through all the trials and tribulations that you've been through, do you still feel that you are a target of the Buffalo Police Department?
Oh, I know I've been a target. I know that my family has been a target. It's just, like, who do you go to when you have a problem with the police, right?
Yeah. This is Buffalo What's Next. Thomas O'Neill White here talking blizzard response with retired Buffalo police officer Cariol Horne. You did an interview with Democracy Now!, yourself and India Walton, about the blizzard, and you talked about senior housing units, and that's where your father was?
Yeah, he was not at LBJ, but he was at a different one. But that just shows the issues that we have with the senior housing that have no backup generators.
Yeah, can you get a little bit more into that? I mean, apparently from what I read in Democracy Now!, the buildings are ill prepared to handle the storm. What went wrong there? What did you see?
No backup generators, number one. You have seniors that in the LBJ, there was pipes that burst. There was water running down the elevator. So, like, you had to take the stairs, and I don't know if it's only
That's tough on seniors.
Yeah, I don't know if it's only 10 flights of stairs, but I do know that, there is a 10th floor, so I'm not sure if there's anything above that. But when I went to the 6th floor, I was tired.
Yeah.
So just to, and then I was walking with a guy, and we had to stop, like, the 3rd floor so he can get his breath, but he was there with his mom. And he was telling me about, because I said, what's that smell? He said he worked in a hospital and that it was the smell of death.
Ooh. Did you go there with Miles Carter? He's a housing inspector as well,
yes,
right? What was his thoughts on the problems within the building?
The conditions were deplorable. They were basically literally left to die.
And this is a BMHA housing?
Yes.
Have they said anything on the matter? Have they reached out to you?
No, they haven't reached out to me because I haven't reached out to them. Miles was dealing with them, so of course he would have to speak on that.
Yeah, we'll have him on again.
So as far as I know that the fire department did go there, and that BMHA was involved after the fact. So I'm not exactly sure what improvements they have made right now.
What improvements would you like to see?
Well, first of all, we need backup generators, number one.
Right.
And then I understand that it was a storm, so I don't expect everybody to be miracle workers, but I expect that a building full of our seniors, especially BMHA, and not only BMHA, any of the senior buildings, they should be equipped to handle a situation like this.
I mean, what's a city if they can't take care of their most vulnerable?
Exactly.
Right? From your point of view as a retired police officer, why was the city, why was Mayor Byron Brown so gung ho on catching looters? What's the methodology behind warning looters of repercussions while emergency services are slowed down to a halt?
I think that it was basically to take our focus off of what the city, county, and state government did not do, which was to protect its citizens. It's I understand how dangerous it was out there because I tried to get to my father and I couldn't without help. So I do understand that, but I also understand that the effort that I did put into getting to my father without any help. So just to think of, you have a team of people who supposedly is equipped, because he did say that we were ready for the storm, even though the November storm, I saw plow trucks plowed in. Who were plowing plow trucks other than another plow truck, right? So how did those plow trucks get plowed in when we needed them? And if they were broken down, they should have been somewhere where they were being fixed.
Yeah, if anything, it seems like the November storm was kind of a test run
exactly
for this holiday storm, and it just seems like nothing was learned in between. I could be wrong because I'm not obviously on the ground.
All, it shouldn't have taken that storm for us to learn anything, because we get snow every year. Every year around this time we get snow. So it should not have been a test run in November. We had many test runs. We should have been equipped.
And I wanted to circle back real quick, just the warning of looters and this police presence on the streets. Do you think that was necessary? Do you think it was warranted? I mean, yes, people are going to, in situations like this, they're going to, try to do things, try to get out for themselves and try to make, steal TVs and stuff like that. But there's people out there who are trying to get essentials. So do you think that it was necessary to have like this police presence trying to catch every single looter and coming down hard on them and warning them via press conferences?
Well, first of all, no, everybody's not watching the press conference. Maybe the people who stole the TVs could now watch press conferences. But to have a looter task force, as opposed to having a task force to go and go down that call log, the 911 call log, it was crazy to me. It's like you have people who are literally dying in their homes on the street, but you decide that the looters is the most important subject for you to deal with. I don't think that was right. I don't think looting it wasn't right, but in certain situations it wasn't wrong.
When you're trying to get essentials, I think we can all agree.
Yeah, like the grocery store decided that, well, at one point, Aldi's decided that they were not going to open.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like then people would say, well, look what you did to your own neighborhood. But isn't a grocery store essential? So why was you not open? This food would have started going bad anyway after so much time. So not that someone should have gone in there and took the food and trashed the place.
Yeah.
I don't agree with trashing the place at all.
Right.
But if people needed food, I can't tell. I wouldn't have said, no, don't go take the food. I would have, like in the situation with Jay, who broke into the school. He left a note, and he didn't trash the place, and the people that were in there didn't trash the place. So they were looked at as good looters, where, you may have had someone, if the Family Dollar, everyone that went into there did not trash the place. But
took what they needed and got out.
Right. But they're all looked at as bad looters. And it's like, what's the difference? Like, with the people who just went and took what they needed, as opposed to Jay, who's getting Super Bowl tickets,
Yeah.
And is it because Jay is Caucasian and the looters that they focused on are black? Well, actually, they were not all black, but they focused on the black people without saying that.
Right.
And there was looting all over. Like, even I heard that snowmobiles were taken. But we didn't. Did you hear about that?
Nope. We talked a lot about, or there was a lot of talk about a lack of warming centers. That's a big problem. What's your take on warming centers? Do we need one in every neighborhood?
Of course we do. There's a school in every neighborhood. There's a church in every neighborhood. So there's a community center in just about every neighborhood. So the point is, there's places that could have been set up. I used to volunteer for the Red Cross when I was in the South. It was much easier in the South to volunteer. Here, it's been like pulling teeth to volunteer. I called and got hung up on when I know how to set up the shelters. So only thing I would have needed was space and the necessary things that the Red Cross provides. And then I could have set up shelters. But they hung up on me when I called. 911, I called because I said, I have a plow truck. I have a snowblower. I have the sod. I had the shovels. I had everything that I needed. I just needed to get out because the drifts blew over and snowed in the plow truck, where across the street there was like nothing.
Yeah.
So I could have parked across the street and just drove off.
Same thing in my neighborhood. I could see grass across the street while I had 5 feet of snow.
Exactly.
What else needs to change before the next big storm? I mean, we still have a long winter ahead of us. It's not even February yet. What else needs to change before the next big storm?
Well, we need equipment that works. Just like you have police districts, the plow trucks could have been in each district.
Just a few in each district?
Yep, and basically going up and down the main streets. I don't expect anyone to, go out to die, but, it's like if there were, warming centers or whatever, even if they plowed a little bit and stopped at the warming center or whatever, I don't know. But I'm just thinking that it didn't have to get as bad as it did.
We've got a minute before we take a short break. And we can finish this at the other end of the break, but do we need, as Denise Barr mentioned a few weeks ago, do we need neighborhood hubs where people can go ahead of a storm, ahead of a weather event, so they can hunker down with a roof over their heads, with essentials? What do you think of that idea?
Of course. There's evacuation centers when there's a hurricane. So we need one during a hurricane, right?
Absolutely. You're listening to Buffalo What's Next. Thomas O'Neill White here talking storm response with retired police officer Cariol Horne. We're going to take a short break and we'll be with you on the rebound.
Hey, have you seen WNED PBS's Compact Science or Shakespeare's Greatest Hits? Here's 5 reasons to check them out. Compact Science is so fun, high energy, and educational that it won 3 prestigious awards: a Communicator Award, a Telly, and an award from the New York State Broadcasters Association. And Shakespeare's Greatest Hits also received a Communicator Award and a Telly for cinematically portraying some of Shakespeare's best monologues in bite-sized videos. Check them out at WNED.org or on YouTube.
This is Buffalo What's Next, where we have conversations with the community about moving forward. To have your voice heard, press the Talk to Us button on the WBFO app, and we'll work to get your questions and comments on the air. Join us on Twitter at WBFO or email us at news@wbfo.org. Together, we'll have the conversations that are needed. This is WBFO, your NPR station.
And I'm Thomas O'Neill White, back with you. I am talking blizzard response with retired Buffalo police officer Cariol Horne. Just getting back to that last point, Denise Barr. Denise, wherever you are, hope you're listening. We love you. She mentioned in a Anchor Zoom call that we need hubs. We need hubs in every neighborhood where people can go ahead of weather events or during weather events if they're able to, if they lose power in their home, walk to these places and have a shelter over their head, have a roof over their head, and have essentials, and just survive these weather events, because it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better right now. What do you think of that idea? And would you do anything differently?
I would set it up like a Red Cross Center does when there's a disaster such as hurricanes. It's like a safe spot. There will be backup generators. There will be food. There will be heat, electricity,
Clothing.
everything that you need to basically survive on a short term basis. And then there should be programs in place where if there's something coming. Actually, it should be done even like now, when there's nothing going on.
Yeah, we should be working on that right now.
Right. So we should have a list of places you can call, a list of services, a list of places you can go. Can you tell me where the evacuation route goes?
Me, right now?
Right now.
No.
Neither can I. I cannot tell you where it goes.
It goes from my bedroom to my couch in my living room.
No, I mean the city evacuation route.
I don't know. So how would you assess, because you were out there, you were out on those streets, how do you assess the response from residents to the storm in this city of good neighbors?
The residents, on the most part, they were helping each other. Even the looters, they were not breaking into their neighbor's house. They were going to the stores and taking what they felt like they needed or wanted. And they basically, as far as I saw, people were out helping shovel, helping snowblow, checking on their neighbors. You actually had a great response from the neighbors because you understood that no other help was coming.
How does that, when you say that, no other help was coming, when that sets in, how does that make you feel?
Well, for me, I'm fine with it because I never felt like I had help coming.
Wow.
So that's why I had generators and the other equipment that I had. It's just I wasn't able to access it, which is also important because you have to be able to use the equipment that you have. So I think in the future, for me, I would just basically have a backup team to basically help me to be able to help other people, which is what I was looking for when I called 911.
Right.
Like, I just need help getting out of here, then I can go and help not only my father, but the whole building of seniors.
I would be remiss not to ask, but how is your father doing?
He's fine.
He's fine?
He'll be 98 next month.
Wow. Wow. Good for him.
He told me he almost froze to death, though.
That's scary.
And for him to be a World War II vet, you went through World War II, and you lived 97 years, and I don't know how I would have taken it had he did freeze to death. But because of his age and experience, he understood how not to die.
The survival skills.
Yep.
I want to pivot away from the blizzard real quick, just because Darius Pridgeon announced that he would not be running for his Common Council seat next election. You live in Pridgeon's district, Ellicott. What do you make of Pridgeon's announcement, and talk a little bit about what he's done as a Common Council member in your district?
Well, it was bittersweet for me to hear that last night, because I think that in any public office that it can wear on you. You could get burnt out. So I think that in that way that, he's done things. good things, especially helping pass Cariol's law, that I will always appreciate. And yeah, I do live in his district now.
How long have you lived in the district?
Since October.
Since October. I mean, what do you? I guess since it's only been October, you haven't seen the growth through the years. But when you talk to your neighbors, when you talk to other residents in the district, how do they feel about the district?
They were actually telling me about how the street is a good street, and how it's quiet, and they all seem to be pleased, the neighbors that I've talked to. So hopefully we can keep it that way in a district that is pleasing to the neighbors.
Exactly. And who might step into that role as common council member for the Ellicott district?
We shall see, right?
We shall see. I mean, what, wait a minute. Wait, what does that mean?
That means that we shall see. Hopefully we can get someone in there who cares about the people.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna mark that down. Pridgeon successor. Who could that be? Okay. All right.
Let's see.
And the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I know I asked you last time and I couldn't even remember your response, and I know you don't remember your response, so it might be completely different now in the few months that it's been since you last came on Buffalo What's Next. What does Buffalo need? Has it changed at all? Or is there any pressing needs from when you came on in October to now?
Buffalo needs city government that cares about the citizens.
Can you break that down?
In how many different ways do you want it chopped up?
Two or three if you can.
Okay, we definitely need our city government who takes our taxes and puts it into, or supposedly puts it into services that will help us run efficiently. We need those services available. And, during this blizzard, we saw what responses we need there. We need so many different things. We need to have everything that is available to one culture should be available to all cultures. And that's just to put it broadly. But even recently we met with the people from the Bangladesh community, and they have a community center that they want all people to be able to use, which is great.
What neighborhood is this? Is this the Schiller Park neighborhood?
The Bangladesh, wherever they reside, but it's off of Genesee where the
yes,
where the
Jami Masjid
community center is. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So they want to make that available to everyone, which is, like I said, is great. And then during the conversation, the one guy is sitting next to me, basically says that Black people don't work together. And in some cases, he's absolutely correct. But he basically sat there next to me telling me that basically
telling you your own business?
No, not my own business. What he thought was he basically was stereotyping. Mm-hmm. And he basically was saying we don't own anything and because of whatever reason. And I'm saying, well, that's not everyone. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I see an article that basically says that they are going to not be fined for housing violations. Now, hopefully I read it wrong, But I don't think that is right. You cannot get away with housing violations because you're doing good on the left-hand side. You have to do good on the right-hand side, too. You can't get away with housing violations. I can't get away with housing violations. So how could that be true?
I wanted to ask you this question because you work a lot with Miles Carter and David Lewis. Shout out to those guys. Is there a disconnect between the black establishment in this city and these new black activists like a Miles Carter, like a David Lewis?
Yeah, so like the mayor has his own set of activists that he uses when he goes on TV. He doesn't use the Cariol Hornes or the Miles Carter or the David Lewis's. So he uses who he deems is safe, or organization that he deems is safe. That's why I just go by my own name, Cariol Horne, because when you hear from Cariol Horne, it's coming from Cariol Horne, not from an organization of who has the 501c3 name behind them. So I'm not trying to diss anybody, but I'm just trying to keep it real.
Yes,
we have to be able to work together. But
what's that going to take?
Yeah. And so that was the meeting that we were at, Bridging the Gap.
Okay. Oh,
so,
yeah.
So what it's going to take them to stop being so closed-minded or want to keep everything to themselves. It's like you have to listen. Like, we are here on the ground. We know what's going on. So you have to, or you should include us. Like, you have, the mayor has activists who are on the ground. But they don't see everything the way we see it because they are basically being coddled. You know, they basically have they're in the graces of the mayor. I'm not in the graces of the mayor.
Right.
I don't care to be in the graces of the mayor. I just care to work so that it can all be fair. You know, everything we can live peacefully. We only have so many years to live. So what's the point of trying to downgrade one set of people and uplift other people? It's only causing divisiveness.
Correct. Well put. This is Buffalo What's Next. I'm Thomas O'Neill White, and I'm sitting here having another wonderful, wonderful conversation with retired Buffalo police officer Cariol Horne. Cariol, this has been a really lovely conversation again. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me again.
And you are listening to Buffalo What's Next on WBFO News.
WNED Classical has been conducting interviews of their own on YouTube with the classical music community. Have you ever wondered what goes into the performances you hear on WNED Classical? Head on over to our Buffalo Toronto Public Media YouTube page to see the collection of interviews that we've orchestrated. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.
WNED PBS can go everywhere you go with the WNED PBS app. Go to the app to watch shows like Kleinhand's Gift to Buffalo, Frontline, and Compact Science. Even watch on the go with the WNED PBS live stream and a 24/7 stream of WNED PBS Kids. You can also see the full television schedule and what's on right now from the app. Download the WNED PBS app wherever you get your apps.
This is Buffalo What's Next, where we have conversations with the community about moving forward. To have your voice heard, press the Talk to Us button on the WBFO app, and we'll work to get your questions and comments on the air. Join us on Twitter at WBFO or email us at news@wbfo.org. Together, we'll have the conversations that are needed. This is WBFO, your NPR station.
Here at the Community Missions on on Buffalo Avenue in the city of Niagara Falls to talk about the SNUG program in Niagara Falls, a recently started program. With us from Community Missions, Eric Boerdner, the Vice President of Specialized Services, and Hassan Ford, who is the Program Manager for SNUG. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Let's first get into this idea about what SNUG is. Let's talk about what that specifically is and how it works.
Okay, so SNUG is spelled guns backwards. What we want to do is bring hope to our community. Like today, SNUG, when it comes to SNUG, we want people to understand that we are here for a purpose, and we are here to bring change. What we do is we work to reduce gun violence in our community by mediating conflict. We work with the highest individuals who are the highest risk of shooting or being shot themselves.
What about in terms of the problem itself? Gun violence, we can make it a very general problem. We could talk in Buffalo about gun violence. We could go to the Bronx. We could go to other cities around the state in that regard. But what about here in Niagara Falls? How specific can we get into what the issue is really about locally here?
Well, like any disease, we look for a cure. Niagara Falls SNUG will be a part of the cure. By mediating conflict, we send credible messengers into our communities, people who have credibility with other people in our communities, to mediate conflict, to talk with people, to find out how we can make it better when it comes to the violence that's in our community.
Well, Eric, what about from a community missions standpoint? If you guys have a lot on your plate, and this is my first time to your facility here, and I can see, and this is an active place for sure here. Now going into this SNUG program and taking that on as well, what's behind that?
I've been around for about 15 years with community missions, and when I started, I specifically started bringing reentry services to the area, and that was geared towards individuals, I like to call them returning citizens, returning to the city of Niagara Falls. That's another big state initiative, reentry services, having things in place. And over, the last decade, it's kind of grown our reentry services to various different programs, to some specific housing programs, to workforce development programs geared strictly towards returning citizens. When it was announced by the state that there was monies available for SNUG in Niagara Falls, recognizing that it is an issue. It is an issue in our city. Unfortunately, it's an issue in our city. And because Community Missions has the partnerships with providers, has the credibility in the community, we've been around for so long that, the community knows us. The community knows that if we're involved, that we're going to do everything we can to do what we say we're going to do for whatever program we're running. So to me, it was a no-brainer. It's something we had to address in our city. It was Community Missions. It was the perfect agency to do it. We had kind of the outline in place anyways for a lot of the things that SNUG does.
That's right.
So it just seemed like it was a perfect fit for us.
Absolutely.
If one person gets wounded by a gun, that's a bad thing. If somebody gets killed, that's worse. But are there incidents of recent times here in Niagara Falls where the problem hit a nerve maybe a little bit more? Can we maybe talk about examples of that might reach that?
I think you can't pinpoint it, because I think every time somebody get hit by a bullet, or every time somebody dies from a bullet, it hits a nerve. So you can't pinpoint just one, because everybody's lives matter. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't. I can't tell you that. And then and when it comes to the victim's privacy, I don't want to disclose that as well.
Sure.
But I can say that when it comes to the issues in our community, we're definitely working on it. So.
Okay, and just to follow that along though, just a little bit. Is there a section of the community that's being more impacted than others when it comes to gun violence?
Absolutely. We have, again, we have a high-risk area that we work on daily. We canvass that area daily. We hand out flyers in the area daily. We befriend people in that area daily. We had this thing what we call a vetting system, and what we do is we befriend people for about a month and a half, and then we bring them on as participants. And as a participant, it's a program that they will come into where they will learn different job skills, maybe get a resume, get back into school. So it's like putting down the guns and picking up something else. When you put anything down, you have to fill that void in, but we want to fill that void with something good instead of something bad.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Eric.
I mean, Niagara Falls is such a small community. Although it's considered, I guess, a major city in this area, it's still a very small city. It's a small community. It's a community that's largely based up of, poverty. And that's, where we are centralizing our services, where we're focusing, targeting, it's right in that area of the most underserved individuals, because that does lend a lot into gun violence and the gun violence that we're trying to target specifically.
Right. And also, when I talk about community, I'm not talking about the black and brown, I'm not talking about the white or the native or even the Hispanic. I'm talking about Niagara Falls as a whole. That is our community. So when we work on our community, I talk about that. When you talk about neighborhoods, that's something different, right? Sure. But when it comes to our community, we want to try to bring the beauty back into our community, especially Niagara Falls. I mean, we're talking about a wonder of the world versus Niagara Falls, Canada to America. We want to bring that beauty back over here as well. So.
Right. And then take me, Hassan, if you can, or Eric, about, you use the word canvas. Canvas. When we think of canvas, politicians going door to door and trying to drum up votes.
Exactly.
Please, yeah.
So what we do, we have our palm cards, and we have also cards. We walk door to door. We knock on some doors. Some people are reluctant to open their doors. We leave cards maybe on their inside the door slot. We're working on door knockers at this time to just hang door knockers on the doorknobs. We stop at stores. We talk to business owners. So we're footing out there in the cold right now. As a matter of fact, I got to get our team some hand warmers, but it's definitely a job, man. So we're very passionate about what we do, and I'm so grateful to Eric because of his passion. I guess people attract who they are to them, right? So. He must have attracted me to him, and the team I attracted is like me as well. So we're all like similar, like when it comes to that passion and want to push forward and want greatness to come out of things that are so that doesn't seem correct. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
One of the important things to note that fall in line with the canvassing is the team, our outreach team. Hassan says our team, our outreach team, who are so important in all this. They're made up of members of the community. In order to be a part of that team, you have to be from this community.
That's right.
You have to have a level of credibility in the community.
How do you expand on that credibility? What does that mean?
So if they need to be recognized in the community. They need to be recognized amongst the population we're targeting. So it could be individuals that we hire that have a history of gun violence, that have somewhat of a criminal history, but they don't necessarily have to have that. But they have to be recognized. So if they show up on the corner of 19th and whatever, and there's a group of young individuals there, that those young individuals recognize them as somebody that they can kind of jive with and understand. Because there's a difference between even myself walking up on a group of young kids compared to Hassan. He's got more street credibility than I do. I have a different kind of credibility in the community. So that's why it's so important to have a team that we call credible messengers. They're our outreach team, but they're credible messengers because they have a message to share and they have to have credibility to the people we serve.
Right, and the majority of the teams across the state do have a past, but their lives have been completely changed around. And that's what makes them so credible in the streets today. I remember you like 5 years ago, man. How your life was. Wow, look at you now, right? You was a thug. You was a straight gangster. Look at you now, man. How did you do that, right? And then so that's the opportunity for me to start vetting that person and bringing them close to me. Let me talk to you for a second. Come here. So
you're listening to Buffalo What's Next. More to come right after this on WBFO.
Our region is home to some of the finest communities in the world. Explore them through the Our Town series produced by WNED PBS, but captured by community members on the Buffalo Toronto Public Media YouTube channel today.
This is Buffalo What's Next, where we have conversations with the community about moving forward. To have your voice heard, press the Talk to Us button on the WBFO app, and we'll work to get your questions and comments on the air. Join us on Twitter at WBFO or email us at news@wbfo.org. Together, we'll have the conversations that are needed. This is WBFO, your NPR station.
Talking with Hassan Ford and Eric Boerdner from Community Missions. Eric's the Vice President of Specialized Services. Hassan is the program manager for their SNUG program here in Niagara Falls, a gun violence reduction program. I'm really interested in those reactions, Hassan. Like you said, okay, there's a group of kids on a corner, and you want to make sure that you interact with them to a certain extent. Talked about how that experience is.
We do all the time. Again, so we're on the corners. As a matter of fact, we have one corner that's constantly flooded every single evening. People are standing around. I'm sure there's different conversations that are happening, but we try to blend into it, and they know who we are. And it makes them uncomfortable. I get it. We're here. We're not the police. We're definitely not the police.
Right.
We're not. We're a different entity from that. But when we walk into those areas, they know that we mean business. They know that we're here to make change. So they listen. They want to know about us. They want to be a part of it. How can I be an outreach worker and so forth and so on, right? So it makes a difference. Us standing in those corners, man. It makes a major difference.
It does. I think just to follow that then is, if you're there, by being there, eventually you get a certain level of acceptance.
Absolutely. Well, we get that level of acceptance regardless, but by them seeing the uniform that we're wearing, even more so, and what we're doing, even more so, absolutely.
I think you made a good point when you said eventually. This isn't something that happens on the first visit or the second visit. And one of the things that's important is to keep being there, to keep coming back, because that builds trust, and that's what drives everything in this is trust. If they can get trust from the participants, they're more likely to pay attention to what they say. That's right. A lot of the individuals we serve have heard over and over in their life that I can help you, I'll help you, and then there's that help's not there, not the next week. And the one important thing that we talk about all the time, and we live by as SNUG in Niagara Falls, is if you say you're going to be there, you're going to be there. And how are you going to be there? Is to be there every day, so that same individual sees you every day and says, for the first 5-10 times, oh my God, they're back, how annoying. But then that 11th time, they might say, wait a minute, they do care. They do really care about us. And I want to know what this is all about, and I want to build a relationship with them, because there's so much that SNUG can do to help our community, and there's so much that we have planned to do that can help the community, and it really goes back to eventually gaining the trust from the community.
You just took me back a bit when you talked about that consistency piece about saying you're going to be there and you be there. Because I can remember being as a child waiting for my father to come home. He's supposed to come home, but he never does come home. And the way I felt as a kid, that disappointment, I'm saying, that no one's really caring. And so I kind of felt away just now when you mentioned that just now. It took me back there, right? So I'm sure that's what they're feeling is also. So that's why we want to be consistent. That's why we want to continue to keep coming back. We do the same areas every single day.
Really?
Every day. Because this is our high risk areas. So we're there every single day just to spread the word, man, and spread some love. So yeah.
You get to know people on a first name basis?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and absolutely. They know you?
Absolutely. Well, for me, I'm called Unc. Me and another guy, they call Unc. Some guy call me Big Bro, because I'm a big guy, but most of the guys call me Unc.
Okay, all right, for sure. What do we understand about, and I keep saying kids, but I just have this image in my mind, young folks who just, whatever reason, things aren't going well at home, not going well at school, whatever, and they find their way into gun violence. What do we know about these kids? And again, like before, you said you don't want to be talking about victims and things like that. But what are some of the experiences that you're hearing about?
Well, I know per CDC, the Controlled Disease Center, the ages between 15 to 24, they are high-risk kids, right? They make up 10% of the population, but they also make up 63% of the homicides in America, right? So those are the areas that we're working on right now. We're setting up an assembly with Niagara Falls to hit 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders. We're going to go in there and for each hour each class and talk about who we are, what we do, and then our individual stories, because they're pretty powerful and impactful as well. where we were and where we're at today. So.
Do you mind sharing maybe one of those individual stories if it's not yours? Maybe one of your.
Well, I wouldn't share theirs on disclosing.
Okay, fair enough.
But for me, yeah, I was an ex-drug addict for 20 years. I robbed Sears in Niagara Falls about 15 years ago for trying to get drugs. Eric known me for coming through community missions for about 15, 20 years as well. Being homeless, eating out of garbage cans, eating off the streets, sleeping in vacant alleys, vacant buildings, going crazy in the streets from overdosing. And today, I went through Narcotics Anonymous and asked God help. I prayed and asked God to deliver me. And today it's been, I have 10 years clean. I'm actually a business owner today. You know, I'm gonna plug myself right now.
What's the business? If you're plugging, let's plug.
My wife and I own Enchanted Florist in Lewiston and Niagara Falls. I also own a gym called Body by Ford. And then Eric saw fit to hire me as a program manager for this program here. So my life is way different. So that's why I'm so passionate about people telling me, oh, man, it's going to be the same. Nothing's going to change. It will change. If you put the energy into that change, it's going to happen. But if you don't do nothing, if you don't change nothing, nothing's going to change. So you have to make that first step into making a change.
Hassan, that's a great story for sure. Can you reflect? I mean, you said going through Narcotics Anonymous,
yes.
and sounds like divine intervention as
Absolutely.
well. But what was the difference between Hassan before that and who you are right now?
Hassan before this, that Hassan had a lot of self-pity, self-centered, selfish. I felt like the world owed me everything and they owed me nothing. I was lazy. I wanted things the easy way. I just didn't care about life in general. Yeah.
We're with Hassan Ford and also Eric Boerdner from Community Missions. Eric's the Vice President of Specialized Services. Hassan is the program manager for their SNUG program, the anti-gun violence program here in Niagara Falls. Relatively new. It was a program that was here, went away because this is a state-funded program. And this is an interesting part of it. There is a level of accountability involved here. If you don't get the results, you don't get the funding.
Absolutely. There's certain metrics that we have to follow, certain amount of participants that they need to provide services to. We have to do community events every month. We have to have a community event. We have to have a participant event every month, and those are a little different from each other. Because we're so new, we're still building our participants. Really come February is where they will start pressing a little harder to start rounding up participants. And those participants are the individuals, like Hassan had said a little bit earlier, individuals who have the highest propensity to gun violence or be a victim of gun violence. Mm-hmm. Like today, we are hosting our open house, and that's our large community event for the month. And
this is a relatively new outreach center, is that right? Or?
It's our brand new building on Pine Avenue in Niagara Falls, which basically intersects our target area right down the middle. And so we're right in the center of the mix on where there is the highest amount of and highest risk of gun violence. And we're really just trying to show off our new building because that's going to be important down the road for participants and for the community to know that we're there right in the heart of the things. Our new building will be able to be used by participants, by the community. So we want to say, hey, we're here, and this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to try to do it. So there's a lot of things that the state really pays attention to this. This is a big push from New York State for obvious reasons.
Right.
Like you had said that, New York State, no matter, name a big city and there's likely an issue with gun violence in that city. Niagara Falls is no different than the Bronx. Maybe in size and in amounts, certainly, but that's about it. But if you consider our size and our amounts of gun violence, it adds pretty close to the same. Yeah. There is metrics we have to follow. There is, money that needs to be spent, and it needs to be spent on the right things, and that's events with the community. That's taking participants to a football game, a hockey game, a concert.
Change,
showing them that there is a life outside of the streets and playing with guns.
Absolutely.
And because a lot of our individuals that we plan to serve, they don't necessarily know that there's a difference. Hassan's story and many other people's stories of going from a tragedy to triumph, not every individual has that, but they don't know that. They don't know that they have worth outside of what they're doing, whether they're in a gang or just running with a crew of individuals.
Yeah, that's powerful.
They don't know that, and that's what we're here to do, and that's the driving force of SNUG, is to let our community members know, specifically individuals with the propensity to be involved with guns in some way, that there is changes that can be made, and we're here to help. We're here, and we're going to keep being here to help you.
Ironically, again, he keeps saying something that triggers things in me. Ironically, the building that we're in was a bakery that got robbed constantly. So we happen to be a gun violence prevention program. We're in that building now.
Wow. Talking about going full circle.
Right.
For sure. There's a narrative out there, and I'm just curious from guys who are now seeing this on the ground level, that the problem has gotten worse in New York State. I guess that's been the narrative. Do you find that, or is it just kind of the same as it's always been, or is it getting better? How do you rate things now?
Well, so I did a training, and it talked about people are saying that people are dying daily. There's shootings daily, and we're in the midst of it. There's no shooting daily. People are not dying daily. Maybe once every 2 weeks. Maybe. Okay. Once every 3 weeks. So, I mean, some people take things out of character. Some people
absolutely,
exaggerate.
And that's why I wanted to get this from you.
A lot of stuff is exaggerated, especially when it comes to misinformation. So, people misinformed people, right? If I get wrong information from you, I'm going to give it to someone else. Now we're all misinformed, right? So, yeah, I think that's exaggerated.
Okay, and then I was curious also about this. So, when there is a shooting, is that now all of a sudden a target for you?
Absolutely, yeah. When there's a shooting, we wait about 2 days, and then we set up a shooting response team. That's made up with some clergy people in our community, community members as well, and then the SNUG team, which is all of us. We on the bullhorn, we're shouting out, "Stop shooting! We want to live!" And they repeat what I say, or repeat whoever's saying that. No more mothers crying, no more babies dying. They repeat the same thing back and forth. We're there for about 20 minutes, man, and it's powerful, and it is strong, and it definitely works.
Are you seeing kids come to your message? You're sensing that this kid who you met 2 months ago on the street corner hanging out with his friends, all of a sudden maybe he's finding Uncle a little bit more of an attractive person to talk to?
So again, we're just starting out right now.
Gotcha.
Although we're in the schools right now, the kids are like, want to know who we are and what we do in the schools at this point, but as far as being on the streets, not
Gotcha.
yet. But I'm sure in others, SNUGs in some other cities, I'm sure that's what's happening right now. Yeah.
Okay.
It's important to add to that, when there is a shooting, one of the other important things is quick response. And that's because our team, the SNUG program, can offer a lot of things, not just to the victim, but the victim's family as well. There's a lot of things that our social worker and our team can help with, both financially, support, emotional support, and but the financial piece is a big thing. For an example, funeral expenses is something that we could possibly help with. Obviously, nothing's a guarantee in this world when it comes to money and availability of money, but it's always something that we can help with.
And then the final question, then I'd like to use this in a lot of our interviews, and I'll throw this one at Hassan. What does Niagara Falls need? What does it need?
Niagara Falls need more love. We need more connection with each other. That's what we need.
Eric Boerdner and Hassan Ford, thanks very much for joining us on Buffalo What's Next.
Thank you again for having us.
Yes, thank you.
This is Buffalo What's Next on WBFO and WBFO HD1 Buffalo, WOLN Olean, and WUBJ Jamestown, your NPR station.